Hi, my name is Bonnie Ogden. Hopefully you remember me, but here's week 5, side dish 2. I just finished up a crazy day of subbing, you can see. I'm still in class, but the day is over and now I get to go home and make a wonderful home-cooked meal with Philadelphia cream cheese. See you there. Alright, so I'm back at home and I'm about to make my Spatzle. And first thing I have together is my 3 cups of flour, my salt and my nutmeg, and then I whipped up 4 eggs, and I'm just going to pour them on in here. Now I'm going to stir in my milk. A slow stream of the milk going in. And I'm going to stir it until it's nice and smooth. So I've finished pouring my milk in, and this is about the consistency that your Spatzle batter should be. And I have some water boiling up in a pot, some salt water boiling up in a pot. But while that's going to a full boil, I'm going to move on to my sauce. Okay, so I have just a little drizzle of olive oil on the bottom of my sauce pot. And I'm squeezing 1 clove of garlic into it. Just when you start smelling the garlic and start hearing it sizzle, that's when we're ready to pour in the wine. It should not take long at all. So my water is starting to simmer a little bit. I hear my garlic making some simmering sounds. That's when I'm ready for my wine. I have a 1.5 cups of dry white wine that I'm just going to pour on in. And I'm going to bring that up to a low boil. Turn my heat up a little bit to medium-high. Give it a little stir. Now when my water comes to a boil, the traditional Spatzle would have you sift the dough through a colander and then you'd have thin little pieces. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have thick spoons. I'm going to have a spoon about this size and I'm just going to spoon it off into little dumplings. That's how my grandpa, his family originated from Switzerland. That's how they did it, so that's how I want to do it. So my wine is boiling now, and now I can add my heavy cream. And I'm just going to slowly pour that in and stir. The aroma smells wonderful in here. The aroma of the wine and the garlic. And as we speak, I see my water is starting to come to a boil. Good timing. Everything should be ready about the same time. So I'm going to consciously be aware of my heavy cream. It'll be a little bit, but while this is boiling now, I can take about a tablespoon of the dough and boom, drop it on in. Now you'll see them kind of tossing around in there. And they aren't going to be perfectly shaped. But this is the way I love it, and this is the way I ate it as a little girl growing up. Okay. My Spatzle is done. I just took it off the burner for a second while I stir this. I turned my heavy cream to low because it started boiling. And once it starts boiling, that's when I can add my Philadelphia cream cheese. I'm going to break this up a little bit. And I'm going to use my fingers and just kind of toss it on in. Using little chunks. And I'm just going to stir that around. Good Philadelphia cream cheese. It's tasty. So I'm just going to slowly stir this until it's completely blended and combined. Don't rush it. Overall, this side dish does not take long at all, so don't rush through the steps. Oil in there. And this is for the different twist on the Spatzle, is I am going to actually be crisping it up around the outsides a little bit. So I'm going to get my olive oil. I'm going to drizzle it into my heated pan. I'm being generous with the olive oil, and I want it to heat up and be nice and hot. Raise my temperature a little bit. And now, once your cream cheese mixture is completely melted, or your cream cheese is completely melted in your sauce, I'm going to add my secret ingredient, which is the Gouda cheese, smoked Gouda cheese. Now, I just bought this, and I'm just going to, it's actually such a soft cheese that you can rip it off yourself, or easily cut it and just put it into little pieces, and it'll melt really nice. Alright, so I'm going to take my Gouda, cut some. The nice thing about this kind of cheese is that you can use as little, ooh, that was a big splash, or as more as you would like. It just depends on the saltiness that you like your sauce, as well as the smoky flavor that it gives off. So I'm adding mine to my pan, and I'm going to whisk it as I add it in. It's a nice smoky flavor, plus the wine, so it's like just a unique smell, but it smells really good. Okay. So I've actually taken my pan off of my heat because it was way too hot, and I'm just adding the rest, and they're going to kind of cool down the pan a little bit. Now these can be made up to a day ahead, so you can just stick them in the fridge. That's the nice thing about these guys. Add them all in slowly, and like I said, just make sure you step back because you never know how hot it is, as you just saw. Kind of spit at me. Yep. Oh God, felon. I'm going to attend to my sauce real quick, and I'm going to stir it up a little bit more. Turn down the heat to low. Just let it do its thing. Wow, that smells so good. I'm getting hungry and hungrier as we speak. I had a long day of subbing, as you saw before. Alright, the rest of my spatula is in. So when I come home, I'm starving and have a huge appetite. And my appetite is normally for something that reminds me of when I was younger, or one of my favorite dishes, and I always remember, I'd always ask my mom to actually make this with pork and red cabbage. But I'm kind of trying to give it a new twist. I put it back on my heat, now that it's kind of calmed down a little bit, and raise the heat up a little bit, because I want it to get a nice crispy bite around the outside. Alright, so you can see we have some deep golden color coming through, and that's exactly what I want. I want it on all of them. That pretty golden color. And this will only be a couple more minutes more, and then folks, we are ready to dive in. Okay, so I just put this onto my plate, and now I'm going to ladle some of the sauce on top. Now this is going to go perfectly with my pork tenderloin that I have going tonight. But since this is only a side dish menu, I'm just going to show you what I have going on here. Also, I'm going to garnish it with some fresh chives. I garnished it with my fresh chives, and now I'm going to take the first bite. That is so good. It has creaminess, it has the dumpling with a little bit of a crisp, just to add a little different texture to your mouth. This is awesome. I hope you try this. I hope you love it as much as I do. And good luck this week, ladies.